Spotlight.
This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring a discussion on India's global solar leadership at the 8th International Solar Alliance Assembly. The participants are Narendra Taneja, energy expert, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, anchor.
We're joined by Shri Narendra Taneja, and today the discussion is on India's global leadership in solar energy installations, and the discussion will center around the 8th session of the International Solar Alliance. Narendra Taneja ji, a warm welcome to you on this program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Mr. Taneja, the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, has inaugurated the opening plenary of the 8th session of the International Solar Alliance Assembly. And she spoke at great detail about the benefits of solar energy and also what the strategic intent is of the International Solar Alliance is going to be in the future. Could you tell us what your thoughts are about this development?
The global energy landscape, and of course there are many organizations which have been focus on other sources of energy including fossil fuel. But when you look at renewable energy, in particular solar, International Solar Alliance has now emerged as probably the most formidable, most forceful and most popular intergovernmental organization. If you look at the response that International Solar Alliance, which as you know is an initiative of India together with France, though the idea of International Solar Alliance, as you know, was promoted by our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, at the India-Africa Summit way back in 2015, if I remember right. And from there to where, International Solar Alliance has reached today. It's a great organization, intergovernmental, and if you travel around the world, most particularly in the countries, let's say between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn, all these countries which are hugely blessed by solar radiation, International Solar Alliance has now emerged as a kind of intergovernmental anchor organization. On the one hand, the countries which have already taken their own initiative, supporting them, bringing best technology, the best management techniques to them, and at the same time, those countries which were, for instance, not yet introduced in a big way, in any significant manner, introducing them to the benefits of solar power. And by now, if you look around, International Solar Alliance has created a huge following, not only in the global south, but even in the global north, because of the kind of construct it enjoys and the kind of work it has done. And India, as you know, together with France, had taken the initiative. But many countries of global south, they look at India, look for inspiration. That's mainly on the one hand, we have helped create this global organization, and at the same time what India has achieved in solar power in particular. So India is basically now the center of attraction, particularly of countries of global south, for two things. First, for International Solar Alliance, and second, because we have walked the talk. What we have managed to create in terms of solar power capacity, now including even the manufacturing capacity for panels and equipment and so forth. So it has become kind of, India is now emerged as a major attraction and attraction center for countries of the global south.
Mr. Taneja, you spoke about walking the talk. India has an installed capacity of 127 gigawatt for power generation sourced directly from solar energy. How have we achieved this, and what is our target for 2030?
You see, how we have managed to achieve, if you look at, for instance, look at the history. Until 2014, we almost, on the global solar map, we almost didn't exist. Well, we had some little bit of presence here and there, but actually we didn't have much to talk about. And if I recall, at the Copenhagen Climate Summit, and our government and ministers, they had to struggle really to put together some numbers so that they could talk about those numbers and those facts in front of the global community. There was not much to proud about. I'm talking the time before 2014. And since then, we've seen that we have traveled a long, long way. And how we have managed to achieve three things. Number one is the leadership. What our Prime Minister, when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat was the first state where they started taking initiative and innovative methods and innovative policy solutions, building innovative policy infrastructure in order to boost solar power in the state of Gujarat. And the Prime Minister's own commitment and Prime Minister's own kind of resolve and also the kind of experience that he had gained from working in the state of Gujarat, he brought all that to New Delhi. So he prioritized looking at it that, we are this huge beneficiary, we are so hugely blessed by nature, by God in terms of solar radiation. He said what we have done in Gujarat or what we have initiated in Gujarat, we should do it across the country. Yeah, of course, initially this was a little bit difficult because many states they had their own ideas and so on and so forth. But gradually, practically with the center taking the lead, center putting together policy initiative, center announcing fiscal incentives and benefit, slowly and slowly we saw that getting traction all across the country. And today the result is that what it is that like the numbers that you talked about, and when you look at the numbers we are talking in front of the global community, what we want to achieve by 2030. In fact, what we had originally promised to achieve by 2030, we have more or less already achieved it. What we committed to achieve by 2030, the chances are that, we are going to deliver much more than that. And there are already plans that in terms of making India completely, fully independent in solar power. When I say fully independent means in terms of equipment, in terms of cells, in terms of panels, in terms of expertise, in terms of trained managers. India has taken a huge leap forward in that direction. In coming soon, in near future, you're going to see 2 gigafactories coming up in India, which have already started work, part of it, but coming up and basically so that we can be self-reliant, completely self-reliant in years to come in terms of solar power equipment. Not only self-reliance for us, but also emerge as a major export hub for Middle Eastern countries and African countries and Latin American countries and even beyond in developed countries for solar power equipment and all that. So this is, and at the same time, now we have seen that thanks to the government policy, thanks to the leadership provided by our Prime Minister, because of his interest in solar power, in particular the experience of solar power in the state of Gujarat, hundreds of new initiatives are coming up. Solar power has become a grassroots revolution now. Of course, the government policy, both at the center and the state level, and at the same time, kind of initiative and interest you see at the grassroots level from panchayats, from farmers, from cooperatives. They are the one who now basically are asking questions and want to know how can they participate in the emerging solar power revolution. How can they participate? How can they chip in? How can they set up their own small, medium-sized power plants and their own small mini grids and so on and so forth. So I think this is something started at the center, led by the Prime Minister himself, and then now it has become a mass movement. So this is what you can do. If the leadership is committed, if leadership has a clear vision, if leadership is willing to walk the talk, then you find that it becomes a revolution in a democracy like India. Once it becomes a revolution, people take over. And we see the fruits of it, the benefits of it for the Indian economy and the Indian household all across the country today.
The President of India, Draupadi Murmu, spoke about the threat of climate change. She also mentioned about the importance of the ecological balance, environment conservation, empowerment, inclusive development, and collective prosperity. But the focus was on the ecology and the environment. How important is this when you are shaping policy and you're looking to expand the installed capacity where the source is solar energy?
If you look at the history of India and Indian traditions, where else in the world you find the people, the ordinary people, traditionally for hundreds and thousands of years, living so closely to the nature and not exploiting nature, but actually living together with nature. And since that's our tradition, also worshipping nature. You can go, the last 3 days we have seen this great festival in the state of Bihar, where people, what do they worship? They worship sun. And because sun is the source of the most powerful, the biggest source of energy on the planet. And the people of Bihar have been worshipping sun, thanking sun for thousands of years. Mass festival. It's not organized by any government, not by any agency. It's done by the people. So that's India for you. So for sun, the importance of sun has been kind of part of the deep Indian psyche for thousands of years. Now, when you basically bring the new technology, bring the new practices, bring the new policy initiative, and you convert that into something that also benefits the people in terms of electricity, in terms of, cheap source of energy, and a source of energy which is very eco-friendly, actually leads to absolutely no pollution and help you to live a life which is in complete harmony with the nature. That's why, as part of that, if you look at the last budget, in the last budget, the finance minister And Prime Minister spoke on that at length after that now India is going for distributed solar. What is distributed solar? Distributed solar means that where the local communities in the rural India in particular, panchayats, they take their own initiative and they come out with their own policies. They find their own solution and they get full support from the government in terms of fiscal support, technology support, managerial support, management support and so on and so forth, so that they can set up their own mini, very small solar-based power plants on the rooftop or in the fields and use that power for industry and for the household. And if there is any surplus power, basically connect with the grid and export it to the grid and benefit from it financially. So this is the new initiative and government is going very aggressively for that. The Honorable President said the whole idea syncs very well with the way Indians are used to living, which is the traditional way of living, that you actually live in harmony with nature, not to exploit nature for your daily life or for economic benefits. So that is the core message of the President's speech, and there's also the core message of the solar power revolution that's taking shape in India.
Let's now hear what President Draupadi Murmu has to say about the benefits of solar energy.
Urgent and concrete steps need to be taken to deal with this threat. India is committed to combating climate change and is taking determined steps. International Solar Energy was launched in 2015 and its founding conference was held in 2018 in New Delhi. The ISA represents a significant step towards addressing this global challenge by encouraging the adoption and use of solar energy.
Mr. Taneja, President Draupadi Murmu also spoke about the possible strategic intervention of the International Solar Alliance in terms of how it can benefit the local economy, how just the creation of, but look towards job creation, leadership for women, rural livelihood and digital inclusion.
ISA's Solar for Sea initiative is a welcome initiative to empower women through strategic interventions in areas such as policies, financing and skilling. Across India and many member countries, women are becoming solar engineers, entrepreneurs and trainers. They are maintaining mini-grids, operating solar pumps.
Mr. Taneja, President Draupadi Murmu has spoken about the strategic intervention of the International Solar Alliance, and she's also touched upon transformation, and transformation is linked to entrepreneurship and innovation that entrepreneurs bring to this business in terms of how solar energy has been expanded to such an extent that today we have 127 gigawatt installed capacity. Could you tell us about what the cost drivers are for solar energy and how economically viable is it in terms of per unit of energy?
When you look at solar power, you see when we if you look at the initial period, that's 2014 to 2015, 16 and 17, of course that was a time when the country was venturing into in a big way because there have been policy openings and policy drives on the part of the government. That time we saw that majority of companies which were venturing into were companies which have mobilized, big amount of money, and the cost of production used to be pretty high. And there were many who were asking questions. Some of them are even reluctant that, this is very capital intensive and cost intensive sector. But then we have seen that those who were ventured into first, they started reaping the benefits. And the result today is when you look at the economics of, let's say, 2015, 2016, 2017, and you look at the economics today, it's a complete change. It has now become so lucrative. The cost of setting up power plants have come down, cost of capital has come down, cost of production has come down, and therefore the tariffs have come down. We're talking of the medium to big solar power plants. When you look at the distributed solar, which the President also talked about, that how is empowering women, how is it empowering farmers, how is it empowering those who are energy have-nots, that has transform them completely. But if you look at the overall cost and the economic landscape and the construct, as I said, we have come a very, very long way. Now we have basically created modules and templates for other developing countries to follow through International Solar Alliance and also through our bilateral action program.
Thank you so much, Mr. Narendra Taneja, for being with us on this program on Akashvani.
Thank you very much.
You were listening to a discussion on India's global solar leadership at the 8th International Solar Alliance Assembly, The participants were Narendra Taneja, energy expert, and Arjun J. Chaudhary, anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on a mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on a YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 9289094044.
Spotlight.